Oh, here we go. Hey, Cliff.
Hey, how you going?
Good, mate. Yourself. It's a pleasure to meet you face to face and get to have a chat like this.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on. I I think this is my first flight doing something like this, so very cool.
Hey, you and me both. So this is going to be a good bit of fun and hopefully go smoothly. Now, for those who don't know you, Cliff, nice and simple, quick little shout out to yourself. You're on here at Instagram at Bulldozer BBQ. We've got a few
We
little
are.
other extras as well.
Well, yeah. People may have run into me in the past. We started back in 2009
Mm,
with sort of our family recipes called Ranch Hand. So they probably would have run into me at meat stock and things like that. We
yes.
got kind of really into the competition side and kind of see sort of what Australia's doing with barbecue and got excited about that. So yeah, so we decided to kind of do a range that was really Australian specific, kind of taking what we already knew and applying a whole lot of new stuff to it. So, yeah, so
Very
we have Bulldozer.
nice. Yeah. I love it. It's very cool. And I mean, it's obviously something a little bit different given that, I mean, it was slightly hinted at that, you bring that sort of American flair to an Australian sort of brand in a way. Um, I think it's a good little standout and stuff that we've talked about is that, you have a good little difference to taste from. And even some of these rubs, you can see it as well. And you just say like, oh, let's just experiment with some Australian stuff and come out with, a rub that has beetroot in it because that's a pretty Aussie flavor and it works well with a whole bunch of stuff. So I just want to ask a couple of quick questions about you, Cliff. Sorry, mate.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, all good. So I mean, firstly, you're saying you've kind of gone into what got you into the rubs it was a big family recipe type of thing. But was it always your intent to just go straight into like let's sell some rubs, let's get this out here so some other people can enjoy it, or did this kind of happen on its own?
Kind of happened on its own. I did a lot of barbecuing. I grew up, so kind of at your dad's knee type of thing for me.
Yeah,
Uh, 10 years, so ate a lot of barbecue. Cooked a lot of barbecue.
nice.
Did a little professional, did a bit of a professional pit run down in Texas.
Yeah,
Uh, but kind of went off track and kind of pursued some other career opportunities until we moved here to Australia. And just kind of got excited to get back into it. It wasn't really a well-known thing when we got here. There was a few sort of people around the edges, but a lot of people kind of scratching their head when I try to talk to them about it. We resorted to farmers markets and things to get it out there,
oh yeah,
and just getting people to try the flavors and things. And so he's real happy to present our Memphis rub and and talk about St. Louis style ribs and kind of show off our South Texas rub. Had some
very
chili and
nice.
things in it.
Yeah,
Uh, but um, but after people got into it a little bit, you started seeing more of it coming in from the U.S., both in terms of like knowledge and also products. Uh, I was at that point where it felt like we'd done a lot of this already, and so we kind of start thinking about all those really great things that are in Australia that you'd never see coming into those products. Not that there's anything
mm,
wrong with being authentic, and I love going back to my Memphis rub. I love going back to do a true Texas style brisket, but I also kind of love sort of the lift that lemon myrtle will give you in something.
oh yeah,
I love that we don't. I love that we don't have to resort to like the commercial coaster salt, where we've got this pink lake sitting out in Western Victoria with exactly the grind we need, and it's full of
oh
mineral
nice,
flavors and things like that. So free
yeah,
flavor. So there's just so much that Australia has to offer that I think could actually improve on barbecue that we kind of got to thinking, shouldn't it evolve to be something?
yeah. Sorry there, mate. It's running a bit slow. Good old NBN playing its tricks as per usual.
That
So no, but yes, you were saying it's all you find a lot that you can unlock from in there that you just sort of you don't really get to find anywhere else outside of Australia, which is brilliant stuff.
Well, yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's really nothing good, nothing better on some things than a little douse of, native bush herbs, for instance. I
yes,
couldn't really even just say, well, we could replace that with something else. Nothing else tastes like lemon myrtle. Matter of
it's
fact, I'm
spot on.
even kind of excited about the idea of maybe even sending a little bit of this back to the States at some point. So,
Mm,
just sort of show them what's happening over here, because I think it's growing by leaps and bounds. People are
yeah,
really into it. It just went from people didn't know to or weren't aware of it to it's people's passion now.
it's exploded. It must have been awesome to see from your end as well, being that nobody knew about it until quite recently. So being sort of the first people into it, it's quite a feeling, I would imagine. But like
Yeah.
I reckon we've got 6 different rubs here that we've got to try out, all of which have a bunch of different stuff in it. Um,
Great.
Now, I will admit that I kind of cheated because I used some of it yesterday. So I do actually know the flavor of the old Midnight Magic, which great on a brisket. Oh dear. Uh-oh, Cliff, come back to us, mate. We'll be doing some fun with editing on this one. Cliff, one more time.
Okay, let's try this again. I've tried a different connection. We've got a internet extender,
Okay.
so we're going to try to connect to the other end of the house here.
Beautiful. It's looking nice and clear on this end, so hopefully it's sticking around. All right, now we were we were talking about
apologize for our connection.
It's all right. It happens. This is the joys of Aussie internet. We know way too well. So we were talking about Midnight Magic, which I did mention before. Was I used on the brisket yesterday? I had a fantastic little comment from the family, including my partner, who said that it smells like pizza shapes, which is, I think, one of the greatest Aussie compliments you can have. But give us your takes. I'll pull up all these rubs, and I'm going to have a try of them all as we go. But give us your sort of take on what inspired the rubs, what you personally think about them, if you've got anything interesting or different about them. Because I'm just going to dig into these just because.
Help yourself. Midnight Magic was the first one we did that's in Bulldozer range. We've been selling that now for probably about a year and a half, just kind of trying to figure out how to position it with the more authentic rubs, because this one was straight up a let's build a rub from the foundation up, without resorting to sort of like we've done this before, done that before. So what we basically did was start with a tomahawk, right? And we just kind of add the things we thought would be nice and it would accentuate the flavor of tomahawk. And then we'd record that, and the next time we'd come around, it's like, well, it was good, but it needed more depth, or it needed more of this. It could usually hit more salt. And then so it's got to think about what could we do to build on that. So we'd start with we'd create the rub that we had last time, and then we would cook on the steak and add more things, even taking a little bits off of it and seeing what we thought of the flavor, how the flavor changed. So literally the whole thing was built on the back of a tomahawk.
On a tomahawk. Brilliant way to go. Well, I'm just being classy and using my hand. Apologies if you see the stains on my teeth from it, but
I'm used to that from our.
There we go.
I'm used to that. Everybody's always got that little charcoal spot in their hand from when it was pre-COVID.
Brother. Yeah.
Exactly that one.
That was the look of my hand when I was coating the brisket in the morning yesterday. I love the flavor you get from this. There's a little bit of, it's just a mild heat from it, which you sort of slowly get through, but you do get a little bit of, there is a bit of the coffee in there, the ancho, and I'm not going to spoil your entire recipe here just to make sure no one else nabs it. But Victorian pink lake salt is the very first ingredient listed on there, which, again, going back to what you were saying, you can just find something special there, even just in a salt.
It's a brilliant
That's the
salt.
thing.
We get it from. I'm happy
Mm,
to say we get it from Mount Zero, company out in the
lovely.
Grampians. They work with a tribe in Dimbula who harvests the
Oh,
salt,
nice.
and we have a special sized grind for us that
Mm.
meets our requirements that works well with the rub. You don't want it too fine. You don't want it too coarse. So we get, and then we use that salt in everything when we do sauces, and we even use it in that just because we love the
Oh,
flavor of
nice.
it. It's just got these little trace minerals in there that's different than having like iodized salt. This is like your real, proper, just a mineral flavor to it that you don't get with just salt. So
Yes.
it just couldn't. I mean, it costs a little bit more, but we kind of think it's well worth it, especially
You get
considering
quality.
in a beef rub you want a fair whack of salt, in
Yes,
my opinion.
absolutely.
But you want to draw that moisture up to the surface where it can catch that smoke and then pull it back into the meat. And so it's worked really well for that.
I love it. That's really good. Nice and earthy as well, which comes in well for a beef flavor too. And we found with the brisket too, when we had it last night, it was just beautifully coated with a nice sort of earthiness that complements the beef flavor. Um, Next up, don't do this in any particular order. This is just how I grabbed them, but the Hogfather, which
Oh,
great name,
fuck.
by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, we dressed him up in a little Al Capone outfit. If you ever look close at the label, he's usually
Yes,
sitting there. He's usually sitting there in his comp gear, ready to
I
do
love
some cooking. But we made him Al Capone on that bottle.
it. Very fancy. So obviously, nicely. I mean, it's mostly a pig pork sort of rub, but I can see here listed for duck, chicken, lamb, anything. I suppose that has that little more of a white meat to it. Works in nicely with
Yeah,
it. I'm
that's
just going to
sweet.
have a down
There's
it.
that sweetness and that smokiness. But we were looking for a nice finish because a lot of times you get a little bit too much of something or another. So we were really looking to balance it out and give it a lift at the end.
Oh
And so I
yeah.
kind of resorted to some of my Asian cooking training to find what would do that there at the end. So that's my little that's my little happy place with the Hog Father is sort of how it finishes.
I love it. You're very right. I can taste. I mean, immediately it hits you with this nice sort of, like you say, a salty sweetness that comes
Right.
in nicely, and then it's just this sort of not quite a warmth, but a little, I
No,
guess,
it's
a
a little bit.
smoky.
There's not a lot of chili in that. We're going for less chili. You'll notice there's even a tag
Mm,
on the top of it that says, if you want
yes,
chili, then you can take the little packet that's inside and tip it in and give it a shake, and then have a hotter version of the rub.
that was another
So
thing I
you
was
can
going to
throw
mention
out
that
and
I
try to
love.
figure out.
Just a little baggie of kick in there, just for the
That's
people that
it.
want
Not a
it.
lot,
'Cause
but just enough to sort of give it a little boot for people who are spice lovers. But we found a lot
yes,
of people and a lot of judges are not necessarily huge on spice. So,
ah,
we thought we'd take that out of the rub itself and leave it as an option. Whereas my original Memphis style rub, which I use over in the Ranch Hand Range, I left the heat in that because that's all I'm not touching that. That's the stuff I love. That's the stuff I'm always use. So
that's the
that's
classic.
my
That's like
that's my
you
family
don't want to
rub
mess with
right
that.
there. Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
very
So
cool.
we really technically have two pork roasts. The Bulldozer's got the hog father. That's what we've been focusing on.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
then
I'll be
we're
using that
happy
for
with
the.
the lift. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
cool.
got a
All right,
little
very
little
nice. Well, the
little
next
bit of.
one. Oh,
Oh, sorry, I was just
sorry.
mentioning that it had a little trace of bush tomato in it too, which
I
was
was
part of the
wondering what
secret.
there was something I recognized in there that really felt at home.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder if
Well,
in
so,
there,
so
but
a lot of this is going to seem a little familiar to people. It's kind of like in the blood now, I think. So
mm,
that's
that's one of those little secret ingredients. Very cool. All right,
yeah.
next up, I got some bird brain, which I
Bird
mean
brain. That one.
the names for these.
Yeah, well, that's when I did the ranch hand rubs originally, I was very serious about it. I was very let's educate people about American barbecue
Ah, yes.
and all that sort of thing. And I call things like Mojave Chipotle Southwest barbecue rub, but I was very quite serious about it. And then I realized people just want to have a good time, really.
Yeah.
we'll pick it up along the way, but really people just like to have some fun, have some mates over, and cook up something, have a laugh. So why not pick some fun, get fun names to go with it, and they'll get it, they taste it, and it's still just as good of an experience. So
Yeah,
bird brain.
that's great. I love it, and I'm a little bit worried as the person that's not massive on spice. But I see here you've got a couple of different chili powders in here, which I mean I can see a little evidence of some bits.
Right.
I don't know if
It's
we can
not
we can
crazy,
pick that
but
up.
you'll feel that one a little bit more than the hog father. It's got a little bit more fire to it, just as part of the
Okay.
flavor base, flavor profile. Again, it's got the packet if you wanted more, but
I was going to say yes, included.
there's a little bit of
All
trace of
right.
cayenne and even a touch of habanero in it.
Oh, nice off the start though. It's
But
very
it's
good.
really
Like
going for the
everything I've
tank.
tried so. Mm, you get a lot of different flavors. I've only tried three so far, and I'm like, I get all the senses going absolutely crazy, which is great. Okay, a little kick. We'll see if I start crying soon or not, but just a little kick so far. I'm liking it. That is very
Yeah.
nice, actually. Oh, there's a different pepper in there. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's nice, actually.
You
See, mm, sorry,
pick
you
up
go
the
for
lemon
it.
middle on that one, I think.
I was wondering, is you've got some different stuff in there. See, it's all the hidden things that I love hearing about because, I mean, you mentioned some stuff. Obviously, you can't give away your full recipe. That's fair enough. You've got to have your own unique style that no one else will take, and I think you've nailed that well. But I definitely get some of that lemon myrtle in the back of that all those spices there. There's just that recognizable. I mean, I love the smell of lemon myrtle. Like that's my top number one scent of anything. So when you taste that as well, that's real lovely. And again, just more of that Victorian pink lake salt. I picked up the salt straight away too. That was real good hit there. Um,
Yeah. So I say sometimes with tastings, you always have to have that little break where you're who just got to let the palate clear.
yes, I do that, but I know that we don't have a huge amount of time, so I'll fight through for you, mate. And thank you, Rib, for helping me out with the drinks here. All right, now this one was actually my partner's favorite to smell, at least, because we did have a little whiff of them as we grabbed them because we were too excited to wait, honestly. But Game Face, this is going to be good. Give us a little, obviously a lamb rub predominantly, but anything game wise. I don't know. We even had a chat about, you're a big proponent of eating kangaroo, which is a very gamey meat, but something that I think more people should have, honestly, especially because it's readily available.
It's definitely a healthy meat, and it's kind of in abundance right now. People think of it, you're okay with it going to the dogs, but it's just a shame because it's a beautiful meat.
Yes,
So,
and I reckon something on that. I mean, like I told you, I've had wallaby before. That was smoked, and it just tastes like salami. It was incredible. And I reckon it'd be worthwhile sharing your little recipe that you had for the roux that we talked about because that sounded really good, just on your Coles brand roux fillet.
yeah,
Right now,
I was going to say we've got it right up here at the grocery store next to us, and it's neat, lean, and it's fresh. It's just. I'm a big proponent to go to the butchers, but with game meats, they get them right down the street now. So I've seen venison at the same place, at the same grocery. So I grew up on
why
venison,
not?
so roux is
Yeah,
sort of a natural step. It's
very nice.
they're both really good.
Yeah, I love it. All right, just to try the game face because I already know that's going to be beautiful. I mean, you mentioned in here as well, it's with juniper, bush herbs for game and lamb. That is, I reckon I could just eat a jar of that, to be honest. I don't know if that's gross to people or not, but that is delicious. Everything in there is beautiful. Again, comes with the spice packet. So if you want a little more kick to it, but that hits nicely on the tongue all the way to the back. Really delicious.
That one goes back to actually the venison rub that I was making originally. That one's got a little bit more history than most. the darkness in there is actually a pasilla chili, which is a Mexican chili. You don't hear a lot here. It's
Yeah.
similar yet different to the ancho. It's got more depth to it. It's got
Okay.
more earthiness to it, which I think really works well with game and lamb. We kind of stuck those together because I realized after I started eating lamb here that they have a lot of similarities. Lamb has a lot of similarities with game meat in terms of the fatty acids that are in it and how to balance against those.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big proponent of going earthier with that citrus hit. That kind of that sort of. And sometimes I kind of think that it's kind of a Mexican meets Greek meets native Australia in
Yes.
that rub.
I
And
like it.
so again, we've got a little touch of lemon myrtle in there. We've
Hmm.
got some Australian pepper leaf in there. Uh,
Right.
so it's kind of goes back to where the game meat grazes and what it grazes on. Just kind of that same connection. And then it's got a bit of my German background, and that is my grandparents always used juniper, which is the berries
Yeah.
off a juniper bush, with venison. So we dried that and applied that to the rub, and it just kind of really worked as that little bitter note that
Mm.
balances out any sweetness and saltiness that's in there.
That's very cool. I love it. And I know juniper is kind of become quite popular nowadays, but to use it in a rub like this, I don't think you really get, at least in very common places, at least. So I love just the variance you've got in the ingredients too. So
Yes.
now this is, I mean, you want a classic sort of barbecue rub, spog.
Yeah,
Get yourself.
yeah, exactly.
I'm plain and simple. It says it here: Aussie pink lake salt, coarse pepper, onion, and garlic. That's classic. I think it's as close to a Texan barbecue as you could probably get with a packaged rub. And I
Right.
was actually quite excited to see this because everyone tries to go for different things, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to just go back to basics. Why not?
Well,
But I
that's it.
reckon
Because
this is
yeah, you go back to basics, but you can kind of step those up too. You can get better, better, do them better, I guess. And try to use
mm,
a better salt. Try to make sure your pepper's nice and fresh. We've got two different sizes of pepper in there to
there we go.
poker and then more hit when you bite it. Same with the garlic, and then onion. We made sure we didn't use. Not everybody uses onion in an SPG type product, but we try to make sure
Mm,
we didn't have any powders in there. And the reason there's no
yeah.
powder, it's all granulated, is because it's a really good building block. You use it as like you said, with Texas style barbecue, that's all you need. But it's
Mm.
also really good as an undercoat to the other rubs, because the more coarse the
Ah.
rub is, the more bark you collect on the cook. So if you put that spog under the Midnight Magic or under the Hogfather, it doesn't detract from the flavors there, but it'll give you a rougher surface, which means you're going to get a thicker bark and more smoke.
Very nice. It's clever. Little tip there. I mean, I didn't even think about that before, so I'm going to be using that next week for our little grand final smoke that we got going on for the AFL. Little tasty. I imagine what it's going to taste like, but I know it's going to be delicious anyway. And I love here, you mentioned it before, but from the local Indigenous um, land council as well, you've got a little mention there, so that's always good to see.
Mm. Yeah.
A lot of respect for the locals there, which is so good. Absolutely love that. That's good. You get the salt, you get the pepper, a little bit of onion, nice hit of garlic. That's perfect. And I imagine that'd work beautifully underneath, especially the Hogfather. I can imagine it already. I need some more Midnight Magic before I do it again because I used up a fair amount on the brisket. But that's all good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
love
But
it. Last one. Sorry, unless you got something else, Cliff.
I was just going to say, if you mentioned the Hogfather, I'd say go without the spog if you want those nice slick competition style ribs, and if you want the little bit more dry rub Memphis style backyard or restaurant style ribs, like they do in Memphis, then you'd want to put a little spog underneath there.
Perfect.
Just
Well trained tip right there. They talk to the expert, guys. I know none of this. This is why I come to Cliff. Now, last but not least, Better Off Red. This one I think has tried. I mean, this has gotten a few people to query a few things. I can see a couple of comments about the beetroot comment I made before. You've technically got this as a finishing dust for wings, ribs, and veggies, but I mean, I've had a whiff of this, and this has worked beautifully in many things.
Yeah, it's like you start. It's kind of like Frankenrub, and that is it's got little bits of things from everywhere. And it was just sort of a what would happen if we just reinvented rubs completely? Like, let's just forget paprika. Let's forget, where, let's forget Texas for just a minute. It actually came off the back of watching MasterChef and everybody putting beetroot in the dish one time. And I'm like, beetroot's really popular here. And it's not in the States at all.
Yeah,
for
right.
whatever reason. I don't know why. But so we started roasting some beetroot. I love the flavor of the roasted beetroot. So then, started dehydrating it. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. So that's kind of where it all came from. And then we just like, well, what else would go well with it? We ended up with some ancho in there. There's a little trace of coffee. There is some elements that you might find in Indian curry. There's some Middle Eastern spices like sumac in it. And it's just sort of, it's almost a world rub, really. So
it's just like, I mean, look at that color on it. You won't find that in many other places. That's insane. I'm going to just drop a spoonful. That is awesome. I mean, you talk about a Frankenrub, but honestly, you get that. I mean, you get that hit of the beetroot. You get all those other different types of elements of, I do taste a little bit of that Middle East. I can imagine that working well in a curry. I could see that working well in, I mean, mixed vegetables would be great. I could see that working in some sort of pie of some kind even. There's a lot you could do with this. That's really nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels there. I've hear people say, they love the maple flavor in barbecue. They love the vinegars in barbecue. And we thought, well, you don't really want to go at this with like processed sort of things. So started looking at it. It turns out fenugreek smells like maple syrup. It turns out sumac gives you the exact same lift as processed vinegar, but it's a natural product, right? It's just a natural spice they've been using for 1,000 years. So it just made sense to sort of see what would happen if we used it. And it turned out we loved it. So
that's so cool.
We just kind of went all natural. Didn't have to use anything, resort to anything like that to get that get that sort of sweet fragrance out of it. So so it just kind of went well, I guess. And people don't always know what to make of it, but definitely give it a try because it works on a lot of different things. Except it's my favorite thing in the world to grill up a piece of kangaroo or other really neat meat hot and fast.
Hell yes. Have a good play around. I reckon I'm excited to try so many of these. I need to get as much meat as possible and just go crazy next weekend, I reckon. There's going to be a lot of fun to have here. And I forgot to mention as well, all of these, I believe, are gluten-free too, which I know isn't sort of, it's not always an advertised thing, but it is big, especially these days. It's becoming more and more necessary. So to see all of that being gluten-free is a great sign, especially my family has a lot of intolerances. So to see that is like perfect, fantastic. Love that. I mean, like you said, a lot of natural ingredients, which is always fantastic. We don't want artificial. We want good quality. And I think you've pulled all of that off, especially with all of these, Cliff. And this has been quite a flavor experience. My mouth is not entirely sure what's going on by now, but it's enjoying all of it.
I was going to say, that was a lot at once, but it was a good time.
That was fantastic. Oh, mate, I'm very glad that you joined us for this. Any thoughts, anything you want to shout out or anything? I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'd love to know, I mean, first and foremost, where can we reach you? Where can we buy your products? What's the best way to get to you? Obviously, we got you on Instagram at Bulldozer BBQ. It's BBQ, I should say, just like this one.
Yes.
Anywhere else that we can reach you?
Start on Instagram. I'm busy right at this moment tinkering with the website, getting it up and running. So you'll see that expand as we go. You get to see a bit of a video we just did with us smashing up some gassers out in July, just during our little COVID lockdown break. So we got the whole family together, a couple of brothers-in-law, and did some video and smashing things. That's kind of our little tagline, smashing barbecue.
Yes.
So
love it.
So I figure, that's always good fun, and we'll have a few more videos and things as I get the time. We'll put some of these recipes and things out there to follow up. People kind of know how to use the rubs and get some ideas and maybe some things they haven't tried before. So kind of check in with the website, and kind of be watching us grow as we over the next month or so.
Would love to see it, mate. That's going to be fantastic. And I mean, thank you again for sending these out. Big shout out on the stickers as well. Good looking stickers. This has been so much fun. Thank you for joining me, Cliff. First time on live. I think it worked out quite well. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you guys have too. And Cliff, that it's been great to meet you, mate. I'm a little upset that your beard's bigger than mine, but I'll accept it. That's fine. We can live with that. But thank you again, mate. It'll be a pleasure to keep catching up with you, and I'll be sure to let you know how all of these go once I've learned how to use them in something else other than my mouth.
Well, yeah, I look forward to the pictures, and I appreciate you having me on, Troy. I really enjoyed it. It's a good first experience with live video.
Yeah.
So.
We all have a bit of fun somewhere.
Thanks for a good time.
No, thank you, mate. I'll let you go enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully you can have some fun with the new guys. If anyone wants to know more, obviously you can message Cliff. He's quite a nice, lovely little gent. So
always open for chats and conversations and questions, or whatever you got going on. I'm always happy to talk barbecue.
Perfect. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Cliff. We'll leave you with that, and be happy to chat with you again soon.
All right. See you then.
Thank you, mate.
See you.